I'm going to need a gun.
Yeah. I swear, Keanu Reeves is by far the only actor that can deliver so robotically and still have it sound cool as ice. Because John Wick is the only action hero in the history of action heroing to have the catchphrase,
Yeah.
and have it work. Seriously though, you could give Keanu Reeves any piece of dialogue and he will deliver it in a way only he knows how. And that is cool as ice, as I said in the beginning of this video. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, John Wick Chapter 4 is finally here and I cannot wait to talk about it. Let's roll the film. So John Wick is the fourth movie in the John Wick franchise, which has just become like kind of a cult classic at this point. Seriously, like in the beginning, John Wick 1 just looked like another Taken movie or another Equalizer movie, but it turned out to be this huge, giant franchise. This must be the most complete action franchise I have ever seen. A movie that is very self-aware, that knows what it is and knows what its audience wants. So in this iteration of John Wick is going against a high table, which is pretty much the eyes wide shut people of the John Wick world. And on the other side of the spectrum, the high table is looking to have John dealt with because he's been a thorn in their hip for like 3 movies now. So they're like, no, we need to stop this man. We gotta deal with this dude. This dude has been bothering us for a while now. And that's pretty much all setup you need. It's a very, very simple story with a gorgeous backdrop. Jesus, my God. It's almost like the directors knew. They were just like, look, we understand what the story is. John Wick just needs to kill some people, so let's give that to the fans. And man, oh man, did they succeed. Let's get right into what I liked about this movie. There are a lot of movies out there that try to up the ante with every sequel that they make, but a lot of them fall short because it almost feels like they're trying to make the movie bigger and fail at making a better movie than their first movie. This is not the case at all with John Wick. With John Wick, it's like they know the scale, they know how much to up the ante for each movie, and it's been very well balanced. They've kept it really well in the pocket of things. And the thing is, in John Wick Chapter 4, the scope is big. The movie feels epic. I mean, it's 2 hours and 41 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And the set pieces are bigger. The action scenes are bigger. The fight scenes are bigger. However, it doesn't feel like they're trying to be bigger. The movie upping the ante feels more natural than most films. A good example would be Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim 1 was really good. It was a big movie. In the second movie, they try to expand the world. They try to expand the scope of things and expand on the action and on the explosions and all that. But the second movie was way worse than the first movie, and I'm pretty sure the budget for the second movie was a lot more than the first movie. So bigger is not always better. Movies like Transformers suffered from this. Like if you look at the first movie, now granted Michael Bay always spends a shit ton of money on his movies, but if you look at the first movie, it was well looked after. The story was a little more cohesive. However, in the subsequent sequels of Transformers, it just went from bad to worse, which is proof that, like I said, bigger is not always better. And man, like I said in the beginning of this video, John Wick Chapter 4 might be the best action movie I have seen in the past decade, and probably my favorite movie in the John Wick franchise. The entire movie, I felt like I was playing a video game because they did a really good job at having wave after wave after wave attacking John, which is quite common in video games, especially things like Call of Duty, Resident Evil, and the like. And they did a really good job at having an enemy hierarchy. Like, you know, like there are some enemies in a video game where they are harder to kill, and then there are some that are easy to kill, and then there's just some that are just there for you to get like XP points. There are a couple of sequences where I was like, this looks like one of those levels in a video game that is really, really difficult, where you have to really preserve your health because the enemies are just harder to kill. You can just see that John is struggling to fight these enemies, whether it's enemies with armor or enemies with better fighting skills or enemies with better weapons. All those things are listed in this movie, and it's given to you in the form of waves of enemies just coming at John Wick. Oh man, it's just such a cool movie. It is so damn cool, which is why I think it's one of the best action movies I have seen in the past decade. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was telling me that he's not sure if he wants to watch it because he's more of a Mission Impossible fan. And I said to him, I'm not sure you can compare, you know, Mission Impossible to something like John Wick, because John Wick is way more stylized. John Wick is an action film with a lot more style to it. Like it's a lot more aesthetic, whereas Mission Impossible is straight action. It's traditional action where it's big set pieces, big explosions, big car flips and all these things. Whereas John Wick, it's more stylized. It's cooler. Like everyone is like well dressed. All the buildings are amazing. The cinematography is great. All the shots feel like cool and smooth and everything is just mint. So yes, Mission Impossible could be a contender next to John Wick. But again, I don't think you can compare the two. I honestly think John Wick is graphic novel material. I was sitting in the theater not believing my eyes. I'm like, what did I walk into? Did I walk into an action movie or like into a cinematic art film? I couldn't tell the difference. The last time I saw a movie with such style and coolness was The Matrix. Do you remember how cool The Matrix was? Do you remember? I remember like one of the scenes that made me realize how cool this movie actually is when I saw a well-dressed bald guy fight twins in dreadlocks that are pretty much ghosts, armed with a katana in one hand and a small machine gun in the other hand. How much cooler can you get? And that type of coolness is exactly what John Wick reminded me of. The aesthetics were amazing. The creators of this movie didn't hold back on any of the characters. They made sure that the movie is star-studded with the biggest stars they could get their hands on. Some of the new faces include Hiroyuki Sanada and Donnie Yen in one movie. Who would have thought? I'm pretty sure at some point the directors were like, okay, they probably have to fight at some point, right? Like, you can't have Hong Kong and Japan in one movie and not have them fight. And then we have Bill Skarsgård as the main villain, who I think did a really good job. Initially, I didn't buy Bill Skarsgård's French accent, but as the movie went on, I kind of like warmed up to it and eventually realized how great Bill Skarsgård is. And some of his lines were just like poetic almost. I feel like they hired extra writers to write his dialogue. It was just so fun to listen to. And then we have Donnie Yen. Dude, Donnie Yen's physicality is incredible. This dude just looks amazing on screen. And he's pushing 60. I feel like he's 50. I think he's 59. This man moves like Captain America in his prime. His fight scenes are so mint and they are so entertaining to watch. Every move, every punch, and every kick that he throws has got such good form. When you're watching a fight scene between two people who actually know how to fight, it just makes for a better fight scene. And then we have Shamir Anderson, who plays Nobody. That's his actual name in the movie. He is probably my favorite character in the entire movie, possibly the entire franchise. I'm not going to talk too much about why I think he's cool, but I just feel like he's a well fleshed out character. I personally would love to see a standalone movie with him. Everything was just cool about him, man. But then again, I've been ranting this entire video talking about how cool it is. Everyone in this movie is just fucking cool. Let's talk a little about the action, right? Yeah, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's bro, go watch the movie. It is just the most amazing thing you've ever seen. Like I said in the beginning, it felt like a video game because it's just these waves and waves of enemies attacking John Wick. And there's literally something for everyone in this movie. If you like people fighting with blades, there you go. They got you. If you enjoy John Wick's traditional gun fu, there, they got you. They even have nunchuck fights in here. So you're covered. You're covered across the board. One thing I should mention though, I think there was one of the characters in this movie that was a direct reference to Marvel. Not that they combining universes or anything, but it was kind of a nudge. It was kind of like a, hey, we took inspiration from this character. I'm not going to say who it is, but if you see the movie, let me know in the comments who you think I'm talking about and which Marvel character you think they're referring to in that scene. In the end, man, this movie was just everything that I've ever wanted from a John Wick movie. To be honest, at some point between the third movie and the fourth movie, I was kind of concerned because when franchises go as long as John Wick has, they tend to end in a very disappointing way. But after seeing this movie, I was just so surprised that they were able to keep it at the same level. I honestly do not know how they managed to make this movie just as good as the other three, if not better. So if you're sitting there and you're wondering whether or not the movie is good, whether or not you should watch the movie, whether or not you should subscribe to my channel and like the video, the answer to all of those questions, ladies and gentlemen, is yeah.